Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast. And welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
Nope thread. Anyone have any good ones about crazy homeless people or things pertaining to that? But all stories are welcome. Thanks.
B13, my older bro is 18. Parents go out of town for a week, give us the whole older bro is in charge, no fucking around speech. He and I are cool, so it's not a problem. He tells me he's going out with some friends one night. I'm in the den playing around on the computer. Says he'll be back later. Don't burn the house down and don't rip your balls off. Don't tell me what to do. Mind you, our house is very secluded, surrounded mostly by trees with a long-ass dirt drive way to the main road. Around midnight, I'm still on the computer when my dog starts going crazy with barking. Walk into the living room and see him growling at one window like it's the vet who clipped his nuts. Get a little closer to it, see a man I've never seen before staring back. We lock eyes and then he ducks out of view. In shock for a second, then I sprint around the house and lock everything. Drag my dog by the collar up to my room, get a baseball bat and hide. This was before cell phones were had by everyone, so I had to crawl to my parents' room and use the corded phone to call my brother. He and his friends come back. We look around but can't find anyone. The next morning, we're out looking around again. Find cigarette butts under 3 different windows, and the flows under the rest were all broken with boots prints like he went around to each window around the house and peered in.
Likely a burglar casing the place. Very common. Your parents probably ran at the mouth about the trip they were going to take like so many people do, and someone overheard. Likely someone who knew them and knew where they lived and figured the house was an easy target. He likely had second thoughts and booked it when he saw someone was still there.
Be living with my aunt in my late grandparents' house in rural Tangipahoa Parish. The house is off a private road, off a winding road off the main road, not some places people just wander up in without having a reason to be there. The house is big with 4 doors, but the farthest in the back is actually just an enclosure for the water heater. I'm there working during the day, so I usually leave the front door open for unexpected visitors because of Southern hospitality. One evening, my aunt comes home and sees out the back window that the water heater door is hanging open, asks me to close it. Thinks something must have happened to the latch. Get out there, and the spring-loaded latch is just fine. Somebody opened what looks like our back door and was too derp to close it properly afterward. Be filled with an awkward, disgusted feeling. From then on, always lock all the doors during the day.
2 weeks ago, staying at my cousin's house after a party, an apartment that used to belong to Grandma, dates from the early 50s. I'm sleeping on the couch while one of my cousin's friends is completely wasted in the only available bed. Can't sleep, reading Nope thread, trying to fall asleep. Start falling asleep after a while. Loud moaning noise outside. Nope. Whoever is moaning, it's walking up and down the street. Peek through the curtains. Can't see a shit, but this thing is still moaning in the distance. After a while, the sound just becomes this kind of intense sobbing. Think the witch from Left 4 Dead, but way more deep and frightening. Get back to the couch, put headphones on, and try to sleep while listening to some music. Next morning, tell my uncle about it. He's cool about it. Told me that the noises started a few months after a guy killed his wife and daughter with a knife. You gotta be shitting me, .jpg. Haven't returned to Uncle's house.
B17 at the time. Do smiles for the first time. Missed the bus home from the park. I didn't want to sit around waiting for the next one, so I decided to walk. Go through a small back trail near the canal. See a crazy homeless person with hands that looked like they were covered in hard-packed soil. He's munching down on his fingernails, like really getting into it. I say, "How's it going?" He stops munching and stares. I continue to walk past him, his eyes fixed on me as if he were planning on robbing and killing me, then throwing my body into the canal. I finally get a good 10 feet past him. "Here, hey." You just inaudible, no clue what he said. Something about soccer cleats in a cabin, I think, all winter long. He then gave a very ominous laugh. I respond with a thumbs up and awesome. Never see him again, even though this is a small city. Surprisingly, it bothered me a lot less than I think it would if I was sober. Here's a fun homeless guy story. Living in a shithole apartment in a shithole town. Not the best neighborhood. Come home from work one day and see shit being thrown out of the dumpster behind the apartment. Defook.jpg. This homeless guy emerges, shirtless, from where he was digging in the dumpster. Old piece of meat in his hands. Starts chowing down on this green piece of meat. Locks eyes with me. Nope, back inside. Homeless dude continues to eat trash like a high raccoon until sundown.
Be 21, living in a bad neighborhood. Have a 357i load with 38 specials that I sleep with on my nightstand. Summertime, have the windows open because of the heat. Occasional loud music playing in the distance or the angry scream of a douche-off between a couple of assholes. 3:30 a.m. Both of those things have been going on, so I can't sleep. Go over to my window in the kitchen and eat some cereal while on my computer, hoping to bore myself to sleep. I hear a scream, but not a typical fight scream, but a bloody murder. I'm on the business end of somebody's shit list scream. Get my gun, peer around from window to window. See some girl trying to run down the sidewalk in huge heels, faceplant, kick off the shoes and then keep running. Can't help my curiosity after trying to suppress it. Go outside and check it out. Go to the sidewalk where she ran, shine my flashlight and see a lot of blood in splats in a straight line where she ran. Nope, back inside, call the cops. I talk to them at my door and ask what happened. Some homeless guy on PCP bit a chunk out of a hooker's face. There's a small group of them that roam the area. Usually I don't mind the homeless and think of them as friendly, but I've heard tons of bad stories of them.
I've always thought of the woods as really scary, and I'm pretty sure most of /x/ agrees on this, but people don't realize cities can be pretty terrifying too at night. Be 14. Live in a shit neighborhood in the Bronx. Gang violence, drugs, prostitutes, and the homeless were pretty common. Wasn't really bad during the day. All this shit almost always happens at night. It's 6 o'clock in late June. I was hyped because we were getting out of school soon. Really hated school because it was trashy, but anyway. Get invited to a party with this kid I vaguely know from my algebra class. He was pretty popular though, so I assumed he just invited everyone in his classes. I go and it's in my sketchy as shit neighborhood, kind of worried about going at night. I wasn't really allowed out at night because of the crime. But I convinced myself and my parents it was going to be fine. Go, have a great time, become actual friends with the kid, and some others who I used to just bullshit with during class. It's 12 now, way past my curfew, 7 missed calls on my phone. Everyone started to leave because the kid's brother was coming home soon anyway. He was a big thug, and everyone was kind of intimidated by him. Anyway, initially walking home with 2 kids who decide they're gonna stay at another friend's nearby, and so they leave me alone. Walking home scared as shit. There were some normal people. Well, normal for this neighborhood. Local drunks and this mentally ill guy who were harmless. Sometimes nurses coming home from the hospital. Notice some figure is following me from like a block away, limping. Really creeped out now. I wait for him to walk under a streetlight. He's some wild guy in a stained hoodie, big raggedy beard. Creepiest thing was he had a sunken eye. Ugh, that fucking eye. I got shivers remembering it. I start to pick up the pace and take bigger strides. Glance behind me. The guy is running. Obviously, I start yelling, people are noticing, and I point at the guy and then start sprinting when I see how fast he is. I hear commotion behind me. People are shouting at him. Some are trying to run after us and stop him. I'm terrified. Never been so scared in my life. Run toward this diner that I know is open 24/7. Run inside, pretty empty for its usual crowd, like 10 people there total. 1 table full of doctors that just got out of work. The homeless guy comes in after me and does not slow down at all. In the light, I can now tell he has a rusty screwdriver in his hand. I'm screaming at this point. Throw a table in his way behind me. The waiter and 2 of the doctors run over and tackle him. He stabs the waiter in the hand and arm as they're trying to hold him down. Someone calls the police. They're holding him down at this point. I'm panting and crying hysterically when the rest of the people are trying to calm me and asking me questions. Police arrived and took the guy in. Had to tie the guy around the ankles as well as his hands. He's stuttering and snarling at them. He's dirty, smells like shit. I file a police report and my parents came to pick me up afterward. Find out from hospital 2 days later the guy was high on angel dust and had fucking rabies from one of his dogs. He later died in the hospital. Incident pretty much killed my social life outside of school. Never went out again, but I was too freaked out from the experience. Thank you, random homeless guy.
This isn't necessarily paranormal, but it spooked me pretty hard. I was in 8th grade, I recall. Mother and I lived with grandfather, taking care of him. At this time, he could still drive at night and stuff. One night it was storming extremely hard. When he walks in half an hour after we expected him home, my mom asks him what happened. He says he got a ride. My mother asks him who, and he says he doesn't know. Mom asks him to explain further. This is what my grandpa told us. Be my grandpa, driving home at night in the middle of a storm. Raining like cats and dogs. He can't see shit. My grandpa thinks, screw this, I'm gonna park on the side of the road until it calms down. Be parked a couple of minutes when a man approaches out of the darkness and rain, knocks on the window of my grandpa's car. Windows can't roll down, so grandpa has to open the door to talk to him. Man asks, "You all right?" Grandpa explains he couldn't see through the rain, so he had parked for it to calm. Man replies, "I could drive you home." Grandpa is like, "Sure," 'cause he's super trusting, obviously too trusting. Man has no car to drive them, so Grandpa gets out and walks to the passenger side to let the man drive his car. Man drives Grandpa all the way home based on my grandpa's instructions. After they get home, the dude gets out and walks off into the forest. Mom freaks out, asks him why he'd be so stupid to let a stranger drive his car and let him walk around the property, etc. Mom runs outside to check on her and Grandpa's car to make sure nothing was stolen. Mom checks her car. The back is covered in dirt, like someone cleaned their hands with the seats. Purse and its contents were covered in sand too, though nothing of value was taken. We have no idea who this man was or even what he looked like. Grandpa couldn't describe his appearance for some reason.
Me and friend in a woods, stupid, kinda drunk, we are pretty wild. In our woods it was heard that people did nasty cult shit like skinning animals and stuff. Rituals for Satan, La Santa Muerte, Bloody Saints, etc. My friend and I are pretty much lost by now. I told her to stay by me because I'm afraid she could get kidnapped or something out here. Somehow we are brought apart. I can't find her. Oh shit. I told her to take pics of where she was, but can't. Looking for her, taking ages, the day suddenly just got darker. One side of the sky is dark, the other darker. Kind of peaceful but eerie. The ground around me starts dying. Plants look as if they were bleached or stuff. There's this old warehouse in the middle where the trees were cut down. Hear some chanting and an animal shrieking. Out of the blue, an old woman with pale dead eyes comes out. She is speaking gibberish, neither Spanish nor English. Not sure if it was one of their native languages or whatever. Can't understand her, but don't care, I'm pretty freaked out. I start backing away. The old woman is blind, so she doesn't know where I am, but she hears the twigs breaking beneath my feet. From the warehouse, a screaming sheep comes out. Its neck was cut, blood everywhere, someone comes after her. Short dude, 4'5"-ish, with a black mask that covers everything but his eyes. He looks at me. Oh shit, his eyes are so fucked up. He had lazy eyes, but they look wild and messed up. He has blood on him everywhere. He just looks at me, looking at him. I don't move, too scared. Suddenly, the old lady touches me. By now, I stop being a stupid dumbass and decide to run, but the lady is grabbing me. Dude yells something like, "Aquí está otro." Holy shit. I hit the old lady, who is now speaking a chant. I think it was a curse towards me now, as she touches me with the butt of the gun I was carrying. Not trying to look for my friend, just running. I'm not /fit/. I get tired easily, but I kept running. I feel as if shit is moving on the trees as I move, like someone is hunting me. I know it's not humans anymore. Those guys were too small and too unhealthy looking to run like me, if that makes sense. I have to stop to take a breath. Truly dark now. I feel as if there's something around me. Once again, this feels like a hunt, but I'm the prey. I start yelling out threats as I point my gun at random. hear a shrieking. Bloody scared me out of my mind. It's the bloody sheep. I don't think I mentioned it, but the sheep's neck was cut, but badly. That's why it was still alive. It wasn't cut deep enough. I couldn't have run in a circle, could I? The sheep just runs by me. I'm not sure what to do. My friend is still missing. The woods are silent now. I'm lost and scared, and I want to go home. Like the wuss, I decide to just go home. Fuck my friend. Find my way out. The leaves around me are shifting and moving as if something was moving around me. I can see the road. The closer I get to it, the heavier I feel. I feel dizzy. I want to throw up. Make my way to the road, walk north, not sure why, to look for my car. I get into it and put my head down. I want to throw up. I start the car. From my peripheral view, I see a shadow on the trees. I look that way. It's the bloody guy with the mask. He is holding a rusty old machete. I imagine how hard it would be if he were to try to cut me down with it. It wasn't sharp at all. How painful. He just looks at me. I speed as fast as the car can go. Nope, fuck all of this. Fuck my friend. Long story short, I got to my friend's place way, way far from the woods. I look for her. Of course she's not there. I feel miserable. I left my friend there. Imagine what they would do if they get her. Oh shit. Clean myself, etc., etc., etc. Finally, I go to sleep. Call her parents, our friends, hers, asking them if they've seen her. Of course not. Get the balls to go back to the woods. I drive all the way up there. My gut's telling me not to. Looking for her is what I told myself I was doing, but truly I just drove around the woods. Didn't even go inside or yell her name. I'm a coward. As I drive all the way back to her place, my phone starts ringing. Getting a bazillion texts from her. My phone freezes, like it usually does when it gets spammed by texts. Wait for it to restart, go to messages. It's from her. She was asking me where I was. She was scared. She was hearing noises. All the texts she was sending me when she went missing, but that just got through. I'm like, WTF. She must have a signal now. She must be safe. Reading all the texts as I drive, they are too long, and she told me to not give all of it. But mainly it was like this. She hears weird noises and feels as if there's people following her. Suddenly she starts thinking that those aren't people. She found this place that looked like a shack. She goes inside. It was a church for the Santa Muerte. She is part Mexican and decides to nope out of there. She says that she found animal corpses inside and a lot of used candles. She hears people outside talking as she exits. It was pretty dark by now. The voices get nearer and nearer. As soon as she thought they were going to come inside, they stopped. She doesn't know what to do and stays inside for 10 minutes until she gains the courage to go outside. There is not anyone outside. She says she heard the voices but not footsteps. She is calling out for me, like actually yelling my voice. Pretty stupid if you ask me, but whatever. She walks back into the woods. There's a putrid smell. She starts finding more rotten animal corpses on the ground. Their eyes looked like pools of blood. By now she seems pretty desperate. Maybe this is a dream, blah blah, this can't be real, I'm pretty scared, Anon. What if I off myself? The whole ending yourself so you can wake up dream thing works for me. She says that she sees a friendly person and that she was going to talk to him. The texts stop. I got to her place and went inside. I still don't know what is going on. Inside the house. The shower is running. What? Yell after her, no response, as if someone was there, nothing. I go get a bat before breaking into the bathroom. She is there taking a shower. She tells me to fuck off, calls me a perv. WTF. I leave. I want her to finish showering. How did she? Where? WTF. She finally is done and dresses. I'm just like, dude, where were you? I told you to stay with me, WTF, man. She is like, don't yell at me, what are you talking about? I'm stupefied. I told her about our trip. She is like, that didn't happen, LOL, what is wrong with you? I told her to check her phone. She reads all the messages she sent me. Her face drains. She's pale, looks like she's going to pass out. She says she doesn't remember half of that. She says that she thought it was a dream. I told her that it wasn't. She is shaking her head. Anon, I had this dream years ago. We go to sleep, both pretty fucked up. She still says she can't remember the whole thing except some of it, and keeps saying that she dreamt it. Wake up the next day. She is cheerful, like always, like nothing happened. I start bringing it up. She says she doesn't know what I'm talking about. I tell her to check her phone. She does. The same thing all over. This didn't happen. How could I forget this? I dreamt some of it years ago. This couldn't be happening.
She is worried and says that she wants to go back to the city. Me too. Go to sleep. The next day, same thing. She can't remember. She just reads the messages.
Weird shit happens out in my neck of the woods, like all the time. Some of it isn't really even scary, just what kind of shit. Be walking around through the woods at night, checking out bugs, looking for animal tracks, just meandering. Huge ass spider drops down on a line in front of my face. Neat.jpg. What kind of spider are you? Looks sort of like some kind of Orb Weaver, but huge, 6 or 7 inch leg span. Shiny silver with dark grey black patterns, pretty hairy. Huh, never seen one of these before. There's hundreds of species of spiders here I've never been able to identify. Little guy cocks its head up, looks me square in the eyes, then spins around with its ass to me. Sprays some sort of webbing out of its free spinnerets, like really tiny bits of webbing, like a fine mist. Sprays it hard, it comes out like a blast from a pepper spray canister. Hits me square in the eyes with it, spins back around and is just looking at me again. For about 5 seconds, I'm just standing there like, what? Then my eyes start burning and watering like nothing I've ever felt. Like when you get tobacco resin in your eyes, but it itches like crazy too, and it's 100 times as bad. I've done every psychedelic drug known to man, and I've never experienced anything like what happened next. Salvia level rapid come up. Start losing my mind, like if you took salvia, mescaline, LSD, shrooms, and every 2C compound you could find, and rolled them all up into one superdrug. Spider calmly climbs back up its line, spend the next 6 hours wandering around in the woods in a daze. All of my what?
I lived with my grandmother while going to college, and for a few years afterwards when I found a job, because the rent was cheap and the food was great. Until one day when my cousin comes over with her latest brat and newest husband. Now, I work nights, so I typically sleep during the afternoon. Dead to the world kind of sleep. But the instant my cousin set foot in the house, I was jolted awake. My bedroom was on the other side of the house from the front door, so it wasn't the noise. If anything, I'd describe it like a pressure. Have you ever walked into an old church and felt like something bigger than you was displeased? Or walk into a hospital and feel a wave of nausea or discomfort? That's the kind of thing that woke me up from a dead sleep. The feeling that something was in my house and it didn't like me. Now, I'd lived with my gram for several years at this point, and despite the family members who had died in the house, I'd never experienced anything of a paranormal nature until my cousin and her family arrived. After they left, I was constantly feeling as if something was watching me. I began hearing voices when I was trying to fall asleep. I would hear strange noises that my grandmother didn't. It got to the point that I'd wake up every day exhausted from lack of sleep and being even more drained due to feeling on guard all the time. So I moved out a year later. Immediate relief from the constant feeling of pressure, voices, etc. Only now if I go over to Gram's to help her run errands or go to the doctor, if I take a nap while waiting for her to get ready, really weird shit happens. Was shoved so hard, I bounced an inch off the carpet I was laying on. Heard a child's laughter and footsteps running away as I got up. We'll hear voices very clearly, which whisper the exact word or phrase necessary to trigger a panic and terror attack. I don't have many of those, but the fucker knows how to push my buttons. It's better nowadays, but it was pretty bad.
I normally just lurk around /B/and/X/, but this is a huge nope and I have to share. Be hanging out at a friend's house. Longish, creepy dirt road after the pavement ends. We walk there because the neighborhood isn't the best, and there are lots of murders in the city, so it's safer there than on the highway or near houses. I see something running off in the distance and hear it. Think it's a deer, and my friend sees some shit too. Get to the end of the straight part of the road where it turns off. See a huge white thing the size of a bear cross the road a ways away in front of us. Think it's my eyes playing tricks on me, and we end up turning back anyway. And 1/8 of a mile away from the closest street light, I hear a loud, padded footstep behind me. WTF. It's something that looks like the rake on all fours. Bony. Pale as shit. Nope.png. Start screaming hoping to scare it. Friend sees it too. He thinks it stood up on 2 legs. Haul ass until we get to the light. Then keep walking fast. Look back and see 2 distorted-looking dogs. Probably from high blood pressure and shit though. We get back to his house. No idea WTF we just saw. Neither of us can breathe. Try to forget about it, but it's really uncomfortable. We end up finding out that it's a starving greyhound after being scared shitless for months.
I've told this story once before. Back when I was a teenager, I spent some time at a friend's house overnight. She often talked about how it was haunted, but since she was pretty emotional and had an admittedly overactive imagination, I just figured she was blowing something normal out of proportion. So the first time I'm over there, I basically talk shit about how I ain't afraid of no ghost. Even walked into the supposedly most creepy room in the house, the spare room, and did some pelvic thrusts. Nothing happens at all, so I figure I've got the situation pegged correctly. Anyway, we're in the living room that night playing some PS2 games. We're just laughing and chatting away when suddenly the windows in the little kitchen next to us, which was just a part of the living room, no walls between, just swing open from the inside. When it finally settles in that the windows were latched closed with hooks before they blew open outwards, we're pretty shaken for a little bit. We close the windows again and things settle back down. Later on, we're crashed on the fold-out couch and she's already fallen asleep. I'm just laying there, when suddenly someone blows hot breath straight into my ear. I'm staring straight at my friend's back, so I know it's not her. There aren't any windows or fans straight above me either. No idea what it was, but I just froze up and pretended I was sleeping. The next morning, I told her something weird had happened, and she just said she didn't want to know. Other smaller stuff happened other times I was there, but those are the ones I really remember. Other than that, it was just the usual shit, like blinds pulling themselves down and things falling over. Weird noises from the spare room, etc. That house creeped me right out.
B6. Me and the family are moving away from Winnipeg, Canada, aka Winterpeg because of the 8-month winter. Middle of Arctic-style winter, -50s. For sale sign goes up in yard. Dad loads a U-Haul with all of our stuff and hits the road to drive to sunny Florida. Mom left with me to sell the house. All we have is a mattress and blankets in the master bedroom, and a black and white TV the neighbors lent us, and some kitchen stuff so we can eat. Every night we watch some TV and pass out with the lights on, sharing a mattress. She always sleeps with a carving knife under the pillow for comfort. Wake up one morning and the house is freezing. Mom gets out of bed to check the heater in the basement, turns the corner and sees that the front door is wide open with the chain cut and deadbolts broken. Snow all down the hallway. Footprints tracked through the house, led back to our bedroom. Walk the whole length of the mattress. Cops are called. Tell my mom that it's a good thing she didn't wake up to see the burglar, otherwise he might have attacked. They probably thought no one was home since the same light was always on, but once they saw you had nothing, they left. They leave and offer to post a squad car outside our house for a week. Mom goes to the kitchen, finds the knife from under her pillow in the sink. We stayed in a hotel after that.
I live in the 2-story unit of an apartment building. Up until a month ago, incredibly peaceful and private, considering that I live in an apartment complex. Neighbor sounds like he is pushing furniture down the stairs. Extremely heavy, violent bangs happen once every 2-3 days. I know the layout of the apartment building. The banging is definitely coming from the neighbor with the entire unit on the 2nd floor. Our stairs are next to each other, but obviously separated by the walls. I hear the banging start at the top of my stairs and run all the way down. Sounds like some loud ass running back upstairs. Repeats for like 2 hours. Knocked on the door, no answer. Luckily, the noise stops when I do, though. After a month of this, run into other neighbor, ask her if she is bothered by the noise. She thought it was me. I tell her that it has to be from the upstairs neighbor. She tells me he's been moved out for 8 months at least. I told my landlord about it. I guess the cops went to investigate and nobody is inside. No broken windows, no squatters, nothing. Totally empty.
Doppelganger story. This happened to me around a month ago, I believe. Nice day, about 3 p.m. Driving with one of my best friends. my sister and her boyfriend. Friend of mine was in the passenger seat. My sister and her boyfriend were in the back seat. We're going to get ice cream, and we're waiting to turn right onto another road. As we're waiting, it's a green light for the street perpendicular to us to turn left. I noticed that one of the cars that was turning looked just like the car that I usually drive. I had my dad's car instead today because my car was at the mechanic. It was a blue Dodge Neon. It caught my attention since I have that car, so I looked closer at it. I noticed an antenna ball head on the antenna. The weird thing is that it was the same one that I had on my car. Right after I noticed that, my friend yelled, "What the hell? That's you!" My gaze snapped to the driver. It was me. Same hair, same awkward sitting position, and they were even wearing one of the shirts I own. I only looked for like half a second since that is all of the time I had, but I still firmly believe that it was me in that car. I have been noping ever since.
13. In the woods by my mother's house in Florida, pretty deep in, alone, just having a blast. See this huge tree and decide to climb it. I'm halfway up and hear several voices approaching. I just look and see 3 large men, each carrying something. The first has a shovel, the second has a large blue bag, and the third has a large cooler. The first begins to dig while the other 2 talk. However, I couldn't hear what they were saying. Knew better than to make any noise or move, so I continued to watch. Hole is pretty deep. The second guy opens the bag while the third guy opens the cooler. Start to get really excited thinking they are about to bury a bunch of money. So excited. About to fall out of the tree looking so hard to see the cash. Nope. Heads, 4 of them. Fuck. One after the other being thrown into the hole, all now in the earth. Second guy pours a bag. I look closer. He's pouring worms over the severed heads in the hole. Guy 1 covers the hole. They all laugh, and I'm hoping they just carry on ASAP so I can get out of there. They leave. I stay put for several hours trying to figure out who those men were and whose heads were in the hole and what they had done to deserve such. Get down, run home, never speak of it to anyone until 3 years ago, told a few bros. Shit still freaks me out, never heard anything about it.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel as more Greentext will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.
Remember to check the Odyssey and Rumble pages for separate archives of previous broadcasts.